Finally, we got another great MCU villain, guys. Like, I don't think we had one in quite a long time. Man, I cannot wait to see where this villain goes in the rest of the phase. And Jonathan Majors, I'm very excited for your future. What is up, guys and MCU fans? Welcome back to my channel. This is OCD Movie Reviews. My name is On The Brinker, and the Phase 5 of the MCU has finally arrived. The first entry of the Phase 5 is here. Man, we are here in this phase. Today I am going to review, of course, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. This movie is directed by Peyton, who directed the first two Ant-Man movies, and this movie of course stars Paul Rudd, Michael Douglas, Evangeline Lilly, Michelle Pfeiffer, Kathryn, Bill Murray, and Jonathan Majors. Now, of course, you know what I'm going to say before I get to my review of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. This is going to be a spoiler-free review. I am not going to spoil any elements from Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. You guys are safe with me. Now, let's get on to the review. Scott Lang and Hope Van Dyne, along with Hank Pym and Jenna Van Dyne and Cassie, explore the quantum realm, where they interact with strange creatures and embark on an adventure that goes beyond the limits of what they thought was possible. So finally, the Phase 5 of the MCU has finally arrived. Phase 4, in my personal opinion overall, is very mixed bag. There are some very disappointing movies, but there are also some good movies too. But unfortunately, out of all the 4 phases so far, it's probably my least favorite in the MCU. So now we got our first entry in the Phase 5 of the MCU, and now it's finally here. I was anticipating for this movie because I really enjoyed the first 2 Ant-Man movies. The first Ant-Man was great. It's one of my favorite solo MCU films. That movie was a lot of fun. It's definitely the biggest surprise of 2015. Ant-Man and the Wasp though, in rewatchability factor, I did enjoy Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's not a great film, it has its problems, especially with the villains, but it's a fun movie overall with some creativity with it. So of course now we got the third Ant-Man movie, and of course I was pumped for this movie. The trailers look absolutely epic in the film, and of course I'm anticipating for the biggest threat that's coming into the Phase 5 and it's introduced in this movie, Kang the Conqueror, played by Jonathan Majors. I was very excited for him, so there's a lot to look forward throughout this film, especially with the disappointing Phase 4. I wanted Phase 5 to go up higher and go more forward. So, we are here, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. What do I think of this film? Is this a great start to the Phase 5 of the MCU? Well, yes and no to me. Okay, let me explain. Did I enjoy at least Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania? Yes, I think this is an entertaining film. It's enjoyable and it's definitely worth seeing in theaters. But at the same time, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is pretty much a mixed bag for me, so that's pretty disappointing. But it's still enjoyable though. Okay, before I get my negatives out of the way, let's get to the things that I loved about this film. First of all, the cast in this movie. Great in this film. Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, he is still great, he's still got it, he's still the same old Scott Lang that we loved from the first 2 Ant-Man movies and the rest of the MCU. Paul Rudd has still got it in this film. He is, of course, great in this film. What's surprising about Paul Rudd in this film is that he's also really funny in the film, but he gets serious when he needs to be in the film, and I think as a serious actor, I thought he does a great job in this film. Michelle Pfeiffer. I liked her character in this film. From Ant-Man and the Wasp, I was curious about her character moving forward throughout the MCU, and this movie we get to explore Janet a lot more in this film, and Michelle Pfeiffer does a great performance in the film. There are some surprises with her character in the film, which I wasn't expecting, and of course Michelle Pfeiffer really pulls that off. Also, a new addition to the MCU, Kathryn Newton as Cassie Lang in this film. I actually liked her in this film. She is a great new addition to the MCU. I thought her character is very strong in the film. She has a great chemistry with Paul Rudd in this film. And I thought Cassie is a really interesting character in this film. Of course, we see a young version of her throughout the other Ant-Man movies, but this is the older version of her. So her character definitely gets to move more forward in this film. And I thought Kathryn Newton does a really great job portraying Cassie in the film, because there's a lot of actresses playing this role as Cassie, the young version. In Endgame, I'm really surprised they did recast that actress. So now it's recasted with Kathryn Newton, and I thought she does a great job in the film. But of course, this is probably the biggest reason you should at least check out Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, because we get to introduce a big threat of the Phase 5 of the MCU, and it's absolutely paid off. Jonathan Majors as Kang the Conqueror, Man, what a villain. What a threat. What a menacing villain he is. And Jonathan Majors, he completely crushes it in this film. This is one of my biggest highlights of this film. They got the villain right. Kane the Conqueror is scary, he is menacing, he is powerful, strong in this movie. You feel really threatened. You feel really scared for Kane the Conqueror going forward in the MCU. And Jonathan Majors helped that. He does a great performance in this film, and man, he is definitely going to be a star. He is going to be a star. I cannot wait to see him also in Creed 3. But man, his performance in this film is fantastic. Finally, we got another great MCU villain, guys. Like, I don't think we had one in quite a long time. Man, I cannot wait to see where this villain goes in the rest of the phase. And Jonathan Majors, I'm very excited for your future. The quantum realm in this movie looks awesome in this film. I would say the visual effects of this film is really good in the film for the most part. The world of the quantum realm is interesting in the film. It looks weird and strange with cool creature designs. I would say this is a better version of Strange World. That's all I'm going to say. It's a better version of Strange World. I really like this world of the film. A lot of people are comparing this to Star Wars with like some scenes in the film and the world building of this film, which I completely understand, but I don't consider it as a bad thing. I could say that it's more of a love letter to it. Just the world of Quantumania looks really cool in the film. It has that cool adventure film vibe that I really enjoyed about this film. Also, the action scenes of the film is still great. There are some great action in this film. There are some fun action scenes, but there's also some intense action scenes in the film. And man, I was on the edge of my seat with the action scenes. There were a lot of fun in this film and very creative. But yeah, even though this movie is a fun movie overall with some positives and enjoyment, unfortunately the story really sort of failed for me. I feel like one of my biggest issues with this film is how exposition heavy this is. This is a movie that sets up the Phase 5, and that's basically this movie. It's setting up Kane the Conqueror as a threat. It's setting up what's going to happen. And I feel like it ruins the whole plot of this film because I feel like this movie is more exposition heavy than a straight up adventure film. And there's a lot of things in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania that they didn't explain all that well. There are some things in this movie where I'm like, okay, this is interesting, but it just got pushed back and didn't explain it all that properly. Also, there are characters in the film that are completely sidelining the film, especially the Wasp in this film, Hope. This movie is called Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So, at least we get a main screen presence with Evangeline Lilly in the film, and unfortunately she just feels like a side character in this film. Same with Michael Douglas as Hank Pym. He's completely sidelined in the film. Even though he has one funny quote in this film, he's completely sidelined throughout the film, which is really disappointing because I love them too in this film. Even Bill Murray in this film is sidelined in this film. He literally has one scene in this movie. His character's completely wasted in this film. But they still put off a great performance in the film, nonetheless. Now, I want to talk about this specific character in the film. Now, if you have not seen any previews for this film, kind of a spoiler for that, but everyone knows that this character's in the film, and it's shown in the trailer, so it's not really spoiled. MODOK in this film. I hated him. I'm sorry. I really don't like MODOK in this film. Comparing to Deadpool and X-Men Origins Wolverine and Doctor Doom in Fantastic, this is one of the worst character designs that I've ever seen. The CGI on this character feels so unfinished in this film. And just MODOK as a character in general, I just find him so annoying in this film. This character is mainly there for comedic relief. That is why this character is there. And I just feel like the look of MODOK, it looks disgusting. Like, I literally whispered to my friend while I was watching this film, I'm like, what the F is this? This feels completely unfinished, and honestly, MODOK is definitely my least favorite character that I have seen in the MCU, and I would completely forget about him. Just no more MODOK, please, because that look of MODOK looks absolutely disgusting in my personal opinion. But yeah, one of the disappointing parts about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is its story. There's a lot of things happening in this film, and this film feels very, very crowded overall. There's a lot of stuff that is exposition heavy in the film, where I'm just like, okay, can you just focus on one thing, then just focus on one thing, and then move on to another thing? This film, of course, is a complete mess overall. But still, is this film at least enjoyable? Yes, this film is still worth watching. This is still a fun MCU film. But just from the start of this phase, this movie is completely all over the place, and was I disappointed in this film? Yes. But I would say this, I'd rather watch this movie than Thor: Love and Thunder. That is for sure. This is heaps better than that movie. I would even say the humor, at times it was great, and at times it wasn't great. There are times where the humor gets a bit too cringy. I'm like, there is a certain part of this film that has to be involved with Kathryn in the film where I'm like, this is written like this? In the script? Really? Like, there are some parts in this movie where I'm like, okay, it's going to MCU comedy, and we get kind of sick of it once in a while. But still, there are some parts in this movie that cracked me up. Like, there's like one bit in this film that I was actually roaring with laughter. So this movie is very mixed with the comedy. But, yeah, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, I'm honestly feeling a bit scared of what's to come in the MCU, and hopefully it keeps it up. Because, honestly, I feel like after the Phase 3, the MCU hasn't been the same as it was. So, hopefully the Phase 5 gets better. This is just a start, you know, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is just a start. What it does a great job at is introducing the threat of the Phase 5. And I feel like that's what I walked out of it at least happy about and excited about. Overall, guys, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, although it's at least enjoyable and entertaining movie, it is pretty disappointing for me because this movie has a lot of exposition-heavy moments where I feel like it doesn't focus on one thing, it keeps focusing on so many things. It sets up the Phase 5, that's basically this movie, it's a Phase 5 setup. But still, there's some enjoyment to have with Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania. And man, Kang the Conqueror in this film, Jonathan Majors, that's what you should see this movie for. He is great in the film. Cannot wait to see his character move forward throughout the MCU. I would say the performances by Paul Rudd is still great as Ant-Man, Kathryn Newton, Michelle Pfeiffer, even Evangeline, Lilly, Michael Douglas, even though I have a problem with those two. Every performance is great in the film. But unfortunately, this film is pretty messy overall. There's a lot of things happening. This movie is very crowded overall. So I would say Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania isn't the best start to the Phase 5. But still, I'm always going to be excited to see the other projects come. So at least this movie got me excited for the villain of this phase. But unfortunately, Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania is probably my least out of the Ant-Man trilogy. But I would say it's still pretty enjoyable nonetheless. So I am going to give Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania a C+. And of course, guys, there are 2 mid-credit scenes in this film, and definitely they are worth checking out. So guys, that is my review for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Let me know what you think of this movie, because this movie is very divisive. So let me know what you think of this movie. Do you like this movie, hate this movie, you thought it's okay? Just let me know in the comments below. Make sure you guys follow me on social media links down below. Facebook, Stardust, Instagram, Twitter, and Letterboxd. Keep contacting with me, and make sure you guys subscribe to my channel notified for my latest movie reviews and other movie-related content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a nice day.